Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden on a beautiful spring day. In the afternoon, it really feels like spring is finally on its way, even though the forecast predicted that there might be still 1 or 2 nights where we have -1 degree Celsius, which is a light frost. It's not a heavy frost, not a deep frost, but still enough that I cannot put all of my annuals and dahlias and everything outside overnight. I start hardening them off though a little bit during the day. Something you might want to consider as well if you grow any kind of annuals such as I do. So what I do basically, I just take those big trays and put them out during the day in the sun, so they're exposed to the natural elements of wind and sun and everything that they encounter, because so far they've been pampered quite well indoors, and at one point that life will be over. I don't carry all of them out though, because I have quite a lot of plants and every now and then I'm a little too lazy, so I rotate. Or when I'm really lazy, I just open the windows in the entire house and let them just sit in the wind in the house for an hour or two maybe. But today is not about annuals, it's not about pinching, dividing or anything. Today is kind of like a continuation of what we did in my last video. So what I want to do is plant some more hardwoods with you. I want to plant some shrubs, and I'm taking you with me to the back of a garden here where the new herbaceous border is. And when I say herbaceous border that implemented, I need to put some sort of shrubs in there. It's not only going to be perennials and grasses, even though I love them a lot, but I have some really lovely shrubs that I was really longing to put in the garden already for quite a while, and now I have the opportunity in just the perfect area for them. So what I want to do is quickly flip the phone, show you the area, and then obviously show you those beauties that we plant today in the first part of planting shrubs in the new herbaceous border. Just in case that this is the first video you ever see from my garden, this is the back of a garden, and this is a new herbaceous border that I want to introduce to you. And you can tell there is a fence still as a borderline, and behind it there is a slope that I've been terraced over the past month. And you can also tell that the fence is not looking quite well, because we had quite a heavy storm last autumn and some of those big branches from the tree snapped and just fell down straight onto the slope and also onto the fence. And yeah, still waiting for repair, but I don't know when this is going to happen, at one point eventually. Just quickly take a look what happens here. So this is a slope. I developed these terraces, so I have a nice area where I can do some planting, which is going to happen at one point soon as well. So we're going to spend quite a lot of hours here planting everything up. But before that happens, we're going to do some planting in here towards the back of a border here. I want to put in some beautiful shrubs, and they're already standing there. I've got 4 in total, 3 here. 1 is already on the other side of the fence, because what I want to do is to break this pattern of having the fence as a straight line that cuts through the garden and through the border. So I want to put things on both sides, or the same kind of plant on both sides of the fence, to make it all feel a little more organic and to connect basically the landscape and the slope with the upper garden. So this is what I want to plant with you today. It doesn't really look like a lot yet, but even though first signs of growth are appearing, and you can tell it's dark. It's dark, it's lovely, it's sinister, it's exactly what I love and what I love to introduce to the garden. This is an elder. So last time we removed an elder, but a green foliage one, and this is, you can already tell, Sambucus, I always want to say Sambucus, Sambucus nigra Black Beauty Gerda. I mean, Gerda, how much more German does it get? And I swear, even though I'm German, I did not buy this just for the name. That was the only black elderberry or elder shrub that I could find in the garden center here. I think they are rather beautiful. They have this element of drama that they bring to the border. If you just look at the foliage here, kind of feathery, very dark, almost black. And then in June, you have these really beautiful, beautiful pink flower hearts, kind of reminding me a little bit of dainted, kind of like hydrangeas in a way, like petite, tiny hydrangeas in a way. Absolutely lovely. A lot of information at the back of the label, all in Polish, but that doesn't matter because I have Googled this one. And what I want to do is give you some information before I plant that, obviously, on why this might be a nice and intriguing variety for your own garden as well. Right? What is intriguing you? The stick is intriguing you again, isn't it? Yeah. Woo, let's play. So obviously I start planting this new herbaceous border up bit by bit. I'm not doing it all in one big go because I don't even have the perennials yet. Yeah. I'm going to pick them up in Germany, I told you before, and I already know when I'm going to pick them up. So in a while I'll drive back to Germany for a week or two. I'm going to do some videos there as well, by the way. And after that we're going to have at least 1 or 2 big planting up the herbaceous border videos with all beautiful kind of perennials. So excited about that. But before I'm going to do that, I want to start working on the framework. And the framework most of the time in the garden are the hardwoods, because those are the things that you don't transplant that easily, because it takes a while for them to get established and to grow, and once they're in there, you make the decision that they are there basically, and you don't lift so easily one of those things, because chances are that they will eventually die. So what I want to do is quickly show you where I want to position them. I have a planting scheme, but because nothing else is really in the border, there are just like a few things in the border, but at the back there is nothing yet really. What I want to do is I'm going to use empty containers like these here and just place them in the border as like a dimension or like a scale for me to show where the other perennials according to my planting scheme are gonna go, because then I can envision it better, and then I can really find just the perfect location for those elders, because I want to put them in now and I do not want to transplant them. This is my rather immature planting scheme for this area, but so far it really helped me a lot, and it really helps me to visualize everything. And just looking at it now, I can already tell you that here I planted in a containers, which I already have. It is sitting in a container ready for planting. So this is something we're going to do this week eventually as well, I suppose. But what I already did is I put this drift of Calamagrostis grasses here, but only up until there, I would say. So this part is still missing. Then we have the drift of sedums here. We've got a drift of asters here. Then I've got two miscanthus there. This is going to be a drift of amaranth, so those plants are still sitting on my windowsill indoors. Here is another drift of asters, and this kind of like purple-black thing that I sketched in here. These are the elders, so the black color elders, which means that they need to go kind of in a swoop just behind the miscanthus grass. So if I just show you where they should grow. Oh look, Alfie's already checking the area, but this is the drift. Here's my finger. This is the drift of sedum. There is a drift of asters, and you're going to see a lot. Somewhere there are the miscanthus grasses, which means that here I want to have kind of like a nice curve of those elders, which means I'm going to put 2 or 3 on this side of the fence and 2 or 3 on the other side of the fence. So if I get up slowly with you, on the other side of the fence there are bearded iris growing, absolutely beautiful variety, and they have kind of black flowers as well, which I think is just a nice combination also with the elder eventually. I need to see how it works, but I think just looking at it now from this angle, I might need to lift a couple that are growing here on this side and just move them further down there. You're not going to see a lot now, but this is what I'm going to do, I suppose. But before I do anything, I'm going to take my elders, place them in the border, and also take some of those empty containers just to indicate where the other drifts are going to go. Honestly, that system with those empty containers really helps me a lot to visualize the dimensions of a border and where I want to get in with more planting. So all I do is I take them and pop them in upside down, and you can tell now where drifts or blobs of any kind of perennials will go. So here where the grey containers are, this is where I'm going to have some asters, really tall ones. I think that they're going to be beautiful there. And then up front I have a nice huge drift for red amaranth. This is going to be red velvet or something, definitely a red one. And then I have a drift of elders, of the black elders there. So what I do is one is going to go to the other side of the fence, which means 2 of the bearded iris need to be transplanted. And then I have a drift of 3 black elders here just sitting behind the miscanthus grass and behind the aster asterine. So I think the color combination of the black leaves from the elders with these like violet, very delicate purple color asters are going to be a very beautiful combination. Then if I swing over here, you can tell all these grey containers is a continuation of the drift of Calamagrostis. So I'm really lacking quite some plants. I need at least 8 more I need to see, but I think that this is going to be just a beautiful impact here. So really have one huge drift, probably 3.5 meters in length in total. But what I know, or what I could see as well, is that I might need to transplant something that is just behind the fence, because there I have 5 roses, yes, 5 roses. It's Rose rugosa, Thérèse Bonnier. Beautiful, like double pink flowers, and they flower at the same time with the elders. So I think that they'd be just a beautiful combination. And then again, this combination of the dark foliage from the elders with pink roses, I think that's going to be beautiful. But I really want to break this pattern of like the fence cutting through the garden. So I think it would be good to take the rose here and just transplant it over there. So I have a nice drift of those roses here, which allows me to put some more asters here basically, which I think would be super nice just behind the Calamagrostis grasses. And then you see there's another topiary piece there. I kind of announced it already. That is another yew sphere that I bought, and it is there because I thought that this one here is a little bit lonesome in the border and it needs a companion definitely, even though there's a fence in between, but I think that this would be quite nice. I put it there already now for a week, so I had a lot of time to think about it and digest it, and I think I like the area, so if I still have time, we might plant that one today as well. I still need to giggle a little bit about the name. I was just like, how typical that the German border plant that is called Gerda. It's kind of like, why is it not called even Helga? But okay. I honestly discovered these last year in the garden center, and already back then I was like, oh, I want to have them. But I was like, strain yourself, don't buy them now because you won't be able to plant them. Wait until spring, hope that they're still there. And yesterday I was browsing through the entire garden center, and luckily I found them. They had 5 or 6 left, I think. So I was like, okay, take 4 and see, because elders, they're vigorous, they grow to quite a size, and I think I space them already quite close to another, but I do it on an instant. I kind of follow this regime of English borders, which is just like loaded, put a lot in there because I'm really going for abundance. So sometimes when you check the label and go like for spacing on these shrubs, I'm just like, absolutely not. It says 1.5 meters. Obviously, this is when you allow the shrub to grow to its full size and potential of like 2 meters in height, which I'm not going to. So this shrub will be pretty much the height of the fence at max, maybe even a little less. So I think this will grow probably like 1 meter, 1 meter 20 in height. So I'm not going to space them 1 meter 50 apart, because then I'm going to have really gaps in between. And this is absolutely not what I want. I really want this abundance drift of all these shrubs kind of like mixing and mingling together and doing all the beautiful thing that they can do. If you don't grow any elders in your garden, I just want to give you some quick key facts about them, because elders are one of those shrubs that are not fuzzy in the slightest. I think they tolerate almost every single soil condition. These varieties here, they don't like to dry out completely though. So last time I planted a redbud with you and I told you like redbuds, they have no problem with like periods of drought. Elders, ooh, they don't like it so much, and they will show you on their foliage basically. But in general, they are not really fuzzy. Also, in terms of the soil, they thrive extremely well here. Like when you do your research, you will come across that elders prefer a rich soil, but in a lot of areas here, the soil is just very, very sandy, and they just self-seed like crazy everywhere. So this is also why I didn't have such a hard time in my previous video removing an elder here, because I just know there's so many down by the slope, and I already knew that I'm going to introduce 4 more here into this new border. So the beauty thing about this is definitely the contrast of the foliage with the blooms, because most elders, they are green with white flowers, but here you really have this absolute beautiful dark foliage with the pink flowers. Flowers appear in June, around that time of the year, and then about September you have the fruit, the elderberries. And with elderberries, even though you can do a lot, I don't think I'm going to harvest a single one, because I never get to harvest them, because we have gazillions of starlings here, which is beautiful, but whenever there's harvest season, they kind of like smother all of those elder trees or shrubs, and there's nothing to harvest. I could come in and harvest the flowers to make syrup out of it, but that is a tough one. I don't think that I will do that. So I'm just preparing myself that this is nothing that I will harvest, but just in case, you know, you can easily harvest the berries and the flowers and really make really yummy things out of that, good for any kind of dessert. Even just if you just sprinkle some fresh flowers, just small ones, over your cake, it really has just a delicious aroma that they give you. Elders, they have shallow roots, which means that the entire area where you plant them should be kind of like lofting up the soil, not too deep, but really in a nice circle around them. Here, I don't need to bother too much about it, because, you know, when I prepared and started this entire area of the garden, I've gone through here. So I prepared this soil, I came in with bags and bags of fresh compost, sprinkled in already the organic bone chips, worked it all in, everything is mulched. So here, the easiest thing is really just come in, plant it, and done. I don't need to prepare everything, which is wonderful now for whatever I do in this border. In general, elders prefer a full sun location, and they pretty much have a full sun location here. At one point, during the summer at noontime, those big trees there, they will provide a little bit of shadow or shade here in this area, but not too much, because those trees, they have, well, they have missiles, and I think they have other disease as well, so they really don't have a lot of foliage anymore, which It's visually not the most pleasing sometimes, but in the end, you know, I'm kind of happy about it because then we have more sun in the garden, basically. So I know that the elders will be very, very happy here. They look a little funny how I bought them in the garden center because I literally have like one stem here and like a tiny one there, but all of them have a lot of fresh growth appearing from the base, and this is what makes me very happy and confident that I think already next year I'm going to have a nice canopy. And let's see how fast they grow. At one point I'm going to share obviously a video with you on how I prune my elderberries. What I'm going to do now is really get in here and start transplanting and planting. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is take you with me to the other side of the fence and start transplanting those 2 bearded iris a little bit further here, and then start really planting those elders. And then if I still have time, definitely try and transplant that rose and eventually even the yews here. Let's see how the weather is going to be on my side today and how much we get done. I'm super excited to do more here in the herbaceous border. Okay, elders are planted, one rose is lifted and transplanted as well, and so are the bearded iris. Unfortunately, when it came down to the bearded iris, my phone was dead, so I don't have footage about that, but you know that I did an entire video that I just dedicated to lifting, dividing, transplanting, and potting bearded iris. So just in case, if you haven't seen it, I try to remind myself to link it down below this video, and if I forget about it, you can just scroll down the history of my videos, and there you will just find a video that is only about bearded iris and what you can do around this time of the year with them. But what I want to do is obviously show you the result, and it is kind of the same as my previous video where I was planting the red bud with you, because you've seen the elder shrubs in their containers and there wasn't a lot to look at. They had like one kind of spindly branch so far. A lot of growth is coming and appearing, so I think at one point later on in the year I can really show you how they're looking and how beautiful they will look. But at this point I could have literally just again taken just a branch and just stuck it into the ground and tell you like, woo, here are my elders. But well, everything is going to grow, and I think everything is going to look really nice. What I did as well, I kept these pots still in the border, the ones that I tipped over upside down, because I still want to give you a view from a different angle where you can see how nice it's going to look once I put all of the Calamagrostis grasses in there. So this is exactly what I'm going to do, flip the phone and give you a tour through the area. Isn't that the cutest sight? Every single time when I work here in the back of a garden, Alfie takes a nap just at that location. She kind of curls in and then she's just enjoying herself in the warm sun. So beautiful. But what I want to do is give you a closer look at everything now, how things are bound to work. So what you can tell is here are the first Calamagrostis grasses that we planted together. So the first half, and this is how it's going to continue. So I think this is just going to be a very nice drift in the border. And just behind it, there are some sedums starting here and then going behind the fence in a lovely swoosh. And then they have another drift here, so I think this is just a nice repetition how it echoes in the border. Then the evergreen, the topiary, something that was also not initially in my planting scheme, but I think this is going to work fairly well in there. Still, I haven't trimmed it. I need to go in there and just clip it a little bit on the top. But let's take a look at the rose and those elders. So the rose, I'm really happy with that because I think this is just really nice and a wonderful drift when it starts here and kind of goes to the back of a garden there, and especially when they start to flower. The pink roses in combination with those dark leaves of the elders, I think that this is going to be a very beautiful plant partner. You might see this kind of like little branch here. This is one of those elders. kind of like with my finger here, and then there's another one there and another one there, and the fourth one is just behind the fence. I made sure that they're all facing the same direction at least. So when they started branching out, that they kind of like do the same thing visually. Let's see if it works. This is just like how it works in my head right now. If I give you a closer look, you can tell that those stems are at least full of buds. And I think a lot of them are actually going to produce branches, which would be wonderful, because then later on in the year at one point, I can at least show you how things are really flourishing and coming together, and I'm really longing for abundance, even though I know whenever you plant any kind of hardwood, this is going to take a little longer than with perennials. A lot of perennials, they do their thing just fast and quicker in general, but this is okay. This is totally all right with me. I plant it in like this, and I have so many perennials in this border that even if it takes a while for those elders to establish, I'm still happy with whatever they are doing as long as they're thriving. You guys, that's it for today's video. I'm so happy that I could share this garden moment with you, because building up this new herbaceous border is so much fun for me. And I mean, you know the feeling. Like starting a new border is always great fun, and how all these things that you envision hopefully start coming together. Obviously, I still need to get in there and start cleaning, because all my pots are still in there. And I also need to wake up Sleeping Beauty. But I think this is going to be easy. All that takes is I need to have a little wooden stick and just shake with that in front of her nose, and then she's going to be awake in a second. This was part 2 of introducing new hardwoods to the garden. So there will be part 3, obviously, and that is something quite interesting, I think, because in my last part, I want to work on my winter structure in the garden. This is something that I learned about my garden this year. It looks really nice, I think, up until the point when I cut back all of the perennials and ornamental grasses, and a lot of the structures are suddenly gone, and I'm left with a quite barren field of nothing. And it is a time of the year where, to be fair, you don't spend too much time in the garden, but if it's just on the way to the compost heap, I think everybody's happy if there's something nice and cheerful to look at, and this is exactly what I want to work in tomorrow. So hope you're excited for that, and I would love to welcome you in my garden back again. Take care, guys. Bye.